Episode number 121, Usura Farm. 121, Usura Farm. Cain moved as fast as he could, but while his mind was quick enough to perceive the obstacles coming his way and figure out a path through them, his body lacked the speed to do it. Eventually, Cain reached the golden mark, but there was a deep frown on his face. Unlike the previous trials, this one felt different for some reason. It was as if he had yet to reach his limit. It doesn't make sense. I gave it everything I had. After some thought, Cain sent the command and was teleported out of the Pillar of Speed. He did not even bother to glance at the cadets and soldiers watching him and immediately focused on the cadet ranking. N degrees 1, Swift Air, early level 5. N degrees 2, Silent Lightning, limit level 4. N degrees 3, Saint of Killers, late level 4. A speed equal to a late level 4 wave warrior was very impressive, but when Cain saw that, his frown grew. Cain couldn't care less about his position in the ranking, but he felt dissatisfied when he saw that his top speed was still within the boundaries of level 4. Unlike the previous pillars that drained every iota of astral wave in him and left him completely exhausted, there was still plenty of energy left in Cain after the trial. He did not wait a second before putting his hand in the Pillar of Speed, vanishing again. That behavior surprised the cadets and soldiers looking at Cain. Nothing would change in a few minutes, and they saw no point in doing it again. A couple of minutes later, Cain appeared outside the pillar and immediately turned toward the cadet ranking. He could not help but clench his fist when he saw that everything remained the same. Cain put his hand and was sent back into the pillar, only to appear again a few minutes later. He did it again and again, making odd expressions appear in the people watching him.
HMPH, despite his talent, he is just a child.
The blonde soldier with Lumia and Zamia did not hide his voice and ensured everybody listened to him. Uriel saw that people focused on him and showed a dignified expression before continuing with his words.
On the battlefield, someone that doesn't know how to recognize his limitations and take the same flawed path would only lead people to their death.
Everybody already knew that Uriel had bad blood with Cain, but that did not mean his words were wrong. Thea was no perfect leader, and everybody made mistakes, but someone who could not recognize them was definitely no one they would want to follow. Despite the change in the way most people were looking at Cain, a group still showed nothing but respect. Lurin and the small group that fought by his side against the horde of wave beasts had absolute faith in his abilities. They knew that every action he took had deep meaning behind them. Cain noticed how the soldiers and cadets began to look at him, but he did not stop and kept trying. He did it almost 30 times before being forced to rest due to his depletion of astral wave. As he refilled his astral wave, he took a deep breath and went through all his endeavors. I don't understand. Why do I feel so firmly that I can do better? Cain was not stupid and knew he would gain nothing by retaking the trial. No technique or skill in his memories could help him with it. Wait, my memories. A flash of enlightenment appeared through Cain's eyes. He had nothing that could help him move faster, but there was something in the boy's memories that was useful. The boy could do all sorts of wonders with his mind, manipulating elemental forces better than any essence wave cultivator and enhancing his body with the world's energy with more proficiency than any astral wave cultivator. Cain would have gained nothing from them if they had been only images. But in those memories, he felt everything the boy did and knew how this one manipulated flesh and energy. Cain could not do most of those things as he could not mimic the outrageous mental power of the boy, but there was one technique he could try. It was very basic and only involved control over the heart and brain. Slowly, a smile appeared on his face as he went through those memories and remembered every tiny detail. As someone that reached the first realm in the ego eternal path of power, he had a terrific memory. Although he was eager to train it, Cain would not do it in the open, so he put his hand over the Pillar of Speed and vanished. As soon as Cain entered the pillar again, the cadets and soldiers continued with their derogatory remarks. Of course, since he did not care when he could hear them, why would they bother him now? Cain adopted a meditative position inside the white corridor. Since the test would only begin once he crossed the black line, he could stay here as long as he wanted. Slowly, he went through every single second of the memories during which the boy created the technique. As he analyzed it, Cain noticed a wonderful thing. Instead of learning from scratch, Cain felt he remembered something he had already mastered, but had forgotten due to the passage of time. The technique itself contained two parts that Kane must trigger simultaneously. The one involving the brain consisted of releasing several drugs that pushed your body to a hyperactive state. The other focused on the heart, concerning heart rate acceleration and increase in blood pressure. Kane erased any unnecessary thoughts and focused solely on the technique. The technique only required using his ego wave to achieve granular control over his brain and heart. He started with his heart, and raising his heart rate and blood pressure to the level required for the technique was not that complicated. However, things got a little trickier when he started with his brain's chemistry. Luckily, he just had to mimic the boy's actions, and everything went smoothly after a few attempts. After roughly an hour, Kane stood up and took a deep breath before triggering the technique. Kane's heartbeats grew louder by the second and soon were so mighty that they echoed through the White Hall. He saw his skin growing red, giving him a ferocious appearance, and felt he could achieve incredible speed even without using a single iota of his astral wave. A large smile emerged on Kane's face when he felt the changes in his body and perceived the might he had gained.
Ha ha ha, this is awesome.
Kane began to laugh, making him look like a fiendish creature, and as he saw his new appearance, a contemplative expression appeared on his face.
What should I call this technique?
Although the original creator was the boy, this one never gave it a proper name. Kane found nothing wrong with naming the technique since he and the boy were supposed to be the same person. Kane thought for a moment before coming up with a name that, according to him, was perfect.
Usura Form, First Gear.
After patting himself on the back for coming up with what he considered a name worthy of generating awe in all who heard it, Kane walked to the black line. Kane made his wave cloak explode at full power and focused his astral wave on his legs and spine before activating lightning armament. He then adopted a sprint position before flashing forward with all he got. The soldier and cadets were waiting for Kane to get out, but as the minutes went by, the gossip only grew worse. The trial of speed did not take more than 2 minutes, but Kane had been there for over an hour.
Ha ha ha, he must be too embarrassed to show his face and doesn't dare to come out. He is arrogant and conceited, yet at the slightest setback, he falls into a spiral from which he cannot return. HMPH, that temperament is not fit for a soldier of the Imperial military force. Following someone like that into battle would only get you killed.
Lumia and Zamia did not waste the opportunity and had been yelling negative remarks about Kane this entire time. The duo then saw how the young man appeared outside the pillar, with a pale face and blood leaking from the corner of his mouth.
Ha ha ha, what a pitiful look. He must have run into a wall inside the trial. So foolish, don't you think, Lord Uriel?
Zamia continued laughing as he spoke to the blonde soldier, but immediately noticed something weird when this one did not reply.
Lord Uriel.
Zamia saw the shock in Uriel's eyes, and as he followed this one gaze, he saw the changes in the cadet ranking.
I am impossible.
Zamia could not believe what he saw. N degrees 1 Saint of Killers, middle level 5. N degrees 2 Swift Air, early level 5. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 122, Late Level 5. 122 Late Level Kane showed a radiant smile as he saw his mock. Combining the boy's skill with his astral wave allowed his speed to reach middle level 5, granting him the N degrees 1 position. Silence reigned among the pillars as all the cadets and soldiers stared at Kane with awe. Many of the ones that achieved one of the top 3 positions in the cadet ranking did it because their bloodlines and techniques specialized in one aspect. Those like Earthfiend that did it in more than one were legends that had reached high levels in the military and positions of great power. None among them had outrageous and yet balanced power like Kane, taking the second spot in both the Pillar of Strength and Pillar of Resilience, while securing the N degrees 1 in the Pillar of Speed. The shock only grew stronger as they saw Kane moving to the Pillar of Destruction and adopting a meditative position next to this one. Slowly chatter reignited among the cadets and soldiers, but this time none dared to utter the slightest negative remark against Kane. Some soldiers and cadets went away, as they did not have the face to remain present after insulting the new genius. Kane couldn't care less about those people and solely focused on recovering. Usarafam puts immense stress over my circulatory system, increasing the already excessive pressure I endure when pushing my wave output beyond my body's natural resistance. If it wasn't for blood refinement art, I could resist for less than a minute. Still, I should not use it in long battles. Despite all the precautions that Kane had to take with Usarafam, there was still a large smile on his face. Deep down, he knew that late-level Fa was not his limit and trusted his gut, achieving what others could only dream. Minutes passed as Kane used the wave crystal to refill his astral wave and revolved the blood refinement art to heal the damage to his blood vessels. Once he was back in his peak condition, he put a hand on the pillar of destruction and vanished. All the cadets and soldiers remained silent and focused on the cadet ranking. Members of the military considered the pillar of destruction the most important, as it involved just how much battle power they could show on the battlefield. Impressive strength did not necessarily mean you could display that same level of destructive power. For example, Earthfiend had strength at early level 5, taking the N-1 position in the strength pillar, but his mark in the pillar of destruction was just middle level Fa and was the N-6. The reason behind that low mark discrepancy was the lack of speed and martial skill of this one. Kane was teleported to a white room roughly 200 meters wide, with 3 faceless puppets near him. They were black, blue, and yellow.
Cadet, the trial will begin when you get within 10 meters from the puppets and will last 10 minutes. You must do as much damage as possible to them. Your mark will be determined by the total sum of the damage divided by 3. However, if one puppet received 50% less damage than the others, the sum will be split in 6.
That message reached his mind through the AI chip module before silence reigned in the room. Kane focused on the puppets as he got right next to the 10-meter mark. If he just concentrated on one puppet, it would significantly affect his level, so he needed to attack all of them. He took a deep breath and activated Usarafam and a 2,000% wave burst. The moment his power reached its peak, he flashed forward. The instant Kane got within 10 meters of them, the puppets moved, all dashing in different directions. If they were to remain static while he attacked, that would have been pointless since there was no way a true enemy would act like that. Each of those puppets was extremely fast, but Kane was even faster. A fist covered in lightning arcs landed in the head of the yellow puppet before a kick found its way to the blue puppet's chest. Kane saw how the black puppet managed to get more than 50 meters away from him as he sent the other 2 flying away. Thanks to Usarafam, he got near this one in less than a second and unleashed a ferocious barrage. Besides Usarafam, Kane also gained a lot of martial knowledge from the boy's memories, and every attack carried his body's full weight and momentum.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
Every punch and kick from Kane carried so much strength that they unleashed small blasts, just like the sound of small missiles landing on buildings. Kane's eyes burst with red light as he attacked the black puppet. He then connected a kick on the puppet's head, which sent this one flying away right toward the blue puppet. The blue puppet managed to dodge the black one, but could not evade that red hand that grabbed its head and used its entire body as a hammer. Kane crashed the blue puppet against the black one, rotating his entire body to generate a massive torque that would increase his brute strength. After hammering for roughly 10 seconds, Kane sent the blue puppet toward the yellow one with such strength and speed that this one could not avoid it. Before the yellow puppet could get up, Kane dived into its chest, unleashing a blast. The blue puppet was about to run when a hand grabbed its head and pushed it back to the ground, hammering it again and again. Kane was crashing both puppets when suddenly, the blue managed to push him away before flashing at even greater speed. The more damage they receive, their resilience and speed become greater. Kane's eyes narrowed as he saw that. He did not pursue the blue puppet but continued striking the yellow one before sending it flying away toward the black one's path. A little over 10 minutes went by, and when Kane emerged from the pillar, everybody focused on the Pillar of Destruction's cadet ranking. What they saw left them in a state of utter shock. N-1 Saint of Killers, late level 5. N-2 Lightning Death, early level 5. N-3 Divine Flame, early level 5. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 123, Old Friends. 123, Old Friends. N degrees 1 Saint of Killers, late level 5. Cain looked at his mark and showed a radiant smile. He was far from reaching level 4, but his destructive power neared level 6. Although there was immense pride and a powerful sense of accomplishment, he did not let that get over his head. Cain had seen many times what being complacent with your own strength could get you. Not to mention that his current power would still amount to nothing compared with the Atrox god that almost destroyed the entire fort. Cain glanced at the Pillar of Mind, but there was no point in him taking it as his name was already on the N degrees 1 position. As for retaking the Pillar of Strength and the Pillar of Resilience, now that he had Asura Farm, he knew that would be pointless. Asura Farm improved his speed and allowed him to generate an impressive talk that could transform into brute strength. However, that would not help him carry a higher weight or improve his resilience. Cain gave one final glance at the pillars before walking toward the cadet section. His face was serene, but red light burst from his eyes when he saw how many cadets and soldiers were about to walk toward him. The fact he did not bother with their sarcastic remarks while taking the Pillar of Speed did not mean he would just forget about it. There was a coldness in Cain's eyes, and it was clear he had no interest in having any form of relationship with people that thought they could speak behind his back. Almost all cadets and soldiers moving toward Cain froze when they saw those red eyes, but a small group kept walking forward. Unlike the coldness Cain showed to the others, a small smile appeared as he focused on the small group.
It has been long since we last saw each other. You have been using that time very well. Your cultivation took a giant step forward in less than a month.
Lurin spoke with a friendly tone, and there was a deep sense of awe in it as well.
Hahaha, I got some lucky chances recently that helped cover some flaws.
Cain's voice had no arrogance, nor did he attempt to show any form of superiority, but there was no way to hide his innate aura. Those with powerful willpower tend to draw people around them, especially if mixed with a heroic spirit like Cain's. The group began to walk together toward the cadet section. Lurin and the others did not even realize it, but they adopted a formation with Cain at the center. After following him into battle and putting their lives in his hand, they unknowingly began to see Cain as their leader.
Did you all come to take on the pillars?
When they heard Cain's question, the 6 cadets that came with Lurin showed odd smiles. Lurin only sighed as he saw that and glanced at the Pillar of Stret's cadet ranking before shaking his head.
I was going to take on the Pillar of Strength and was sure I could take the N degrees 10 position, but now that one has risen to early level 4. Hahaha, sorry about that.
Cain laughed as he heard that since he found it funny. His addition to the Pillar of Strength's cadet ranking took away Levi and made it much harder for Lurin to get in.
You don't seem very sorry.
Lurin sent an annoyed look toward Cain as he heard this one laugh and how the others giggled at his misfortune. Of course, he was not really angry. There was still time before the year ended, and he was sure he could enter level 4 before that. Cain, Lurin, and the others made small talk as they walked away under the gaze of the cadets and soldiers around the pillars. Many cadets and soldiers showed envy toward Lurin and his group, as it was clear they formed a good relationship with one of the rising stars of the Imperial Lightning Fort. The way they looked at Lurin's group was the complete opposite of the gazes they directed toward Lumia and Zamia. The duo had formed a deep animosity against a genius capable of showing a battle power that allowed him to fight level 5 Wave Warrior while being at level 3. Lumia and Zamia knew they had gotten into serious trouble. While in their minds, their background was mightier than Cain's, it would not be very useful in the military. Unlike in any other profession or field, a powerful background was diametrical in the Imperial military force. When it came to granting positions of power and influence, the higher-ups would first choose those from humble origins since they would truly give their heart to the military and not other forces. Lumia and Zamia knew they could return to their homes after the year ended, but that would forever leave them in the shadows of their older brothers. The only way to rise after making a powerful enemy was to hold on to a stronger backer. The duo looked toward Uriel since they knew this was their only chance. No one else would side with them against a genius like Cain. Uriel remained silent for a moment as he focused on Cain before glancing at the duo.
You too will tell me every single interaction you had with that man. After that, I will decide how to proceed.
Uriel wanted to know more about Cain and what kind of man he was. If Uriel could fix the bad blood between them, he would certainly do it since there was no gain from him antagonizing a genius, but if not, he had other plans. Lumia and Zamia were wise enough to see the hidden meaning behind Uriel's words. While it would certainly help their case if they lied, they did not believe they could trick the soldier. Their only path now was telling the truth and hoping that, in the end, Uriel would side with them. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 124, Genetic Coding. 124, Genetic Coding. Cain kept walking when a boy from the group spoke to him. He had a bulky body and long black hair.
By the way, have you considered enrolling in a profession class? What, that is still going on?
Cain was honestly surprised by that question. According to the original schedule, the time for profession class enrollment was 2 months ago. The attack of the Dark Race's powerhouses clearly messed up the whole thing. Cain was not interested in taking any profession as they would drain much of his time, and he did not find any useful. What truly drew his attention were military specializations, and since the enrollment for profession classes was still open, it should be the same with these.
Although the courses originally were meant to last for 6 months, the higher-ups decided to change things, generating crash courses that will only last 3 months. You still have a month to enroll in one of them.
Lurin deduced that Cain was unaware of that information, so he shared it. When the other cadets saw Cain's smiling, they mistook it as this one being excited to take on a profession, so they all began to share their thoughts.
Since you are interested, how about becoming a wave crafter? No matter where you find yourself, everybody needs wave artifacts.
A young man with a thin frame spoke to Cain. Although he was the smallest of the group, his cultivation was the second highest, having reached level 3.
Green, are you stupid? Wave crafters need insane precision over their wave to form the matrices that give the weapons and armor their power. That is a profession that only essence wave cultivators take, not someone like Cain. That is an astral wave cultivator.
The same bulky man from before berated the thin one named Green. Despite his thin body, Green was not a pushover and shouted back.
HMPH, the only idiot here is you, Joseph. It is true that most wave crafters are essence wave cultivators, but is not Cain's mastery over his astral wave better than almost every wave warrior?
When Joseph heard that, he knew that Green was right. Still, instead of backing down, he shouted even louder.
How did you just call me?
Lurin and the rest of the group only laughed as they saw that. It was clear they were accustomed to the duo fighting over anything. Cain only shook his head as he saw that but did not plan to intervene. He knew they meant well but was not interested in taking a profession. A girl from the group moved closer to Cain. She had a small face and short golden hair. Although she was not as gorgeous as Beals, she was still very pretty.
Would you be interested in becoming a genetic coder alongside Lurin and me?
The girl's name was Ophelia, and she was one of the few astral wave cultivators from the group. She did not think much of the proposition and just wanted to take her chances. There was no way she could have imagined that the moment she finished speaking, Cain would turn toward her with sharp and cold eyes.
What did you just say?
Ophelia began to tremble as she saw 2 red eyes focusing on her. Cain immediately noticed the girl's state and knew he had made a mistake. He was not angry or anything like that. It was just that when he faced something that shocked him, he would enter that default state as it would be easier to handle things. He took a deep breath, calmed his bursting ego wave, and smiled radiantly at the girl.
I am sorry about that. The words genetic coder have a deep meaning for me, but I was unaware there was a profession like that. Could you please explain it to me?
Emotions can change rapidly according to the circumstances. All the fear in Ophelia's heart vanished the moment she saw the radiant smile and green eyes. Although Cain was not originally too handsome, his looks improved drastically after going through marrow washing. That, plus his magnetic aura and strength, made him very attractive to the opposite sex.
Yes.
Ophelia could not help but shout before thoroughly describing what a genetic coder was.
A genetic coder is someone that can manipulate the fundamental blocks of life. Back in the old world, humans already had the ability to influence our genes, but our technology still limited us. However, after reaching ether and gaining control over the wave, we have advanced to the point where all genetic diseases are long gone, and a genetic coder's skills are more than just fixing mistakes. They can generate all sorts of wave viruses capable of granting extraordinary abilities and expanding your lifespan. Some are even able to synthesize or even modify bloodlines.
Ophelia just described the basics of the genetic coding profession, but it was what Kane needed. Lurin could see a meaningful light in Kane's eyes as this one heard that description.
If you are interested in becoming a genetic coder, I could share some knowledge my father shared with me.
Lurin wouldn't normally make an offer like that, but forming a good relationship with a martial genius and master strategist like Kane would only bring good things to him. Originally, Kane had no interest in any profession, but things changed drastically after finding out there was one similar to one of the Absolute Life Form Systems modules.
I will think about it.
Kane said nothing more before making his way back to the cadet section with the rest of the group. Once they were there, he said goodbye and went to his residence.
Apex.
There was no need for more words, as the system spirit knew what Kane wanted to ask.
Brat, I told you from the beginning that the absolute life form system cannot make something out of nothing. That goes for its modules as well. You will learn more in the future if you grow powerful enough.
Kane could only sigh and nod after hearing that. Apex had helped him, but he knew that this one was not his babysitter. The system spirit would not provide any knowledge unless he asked for it specifically.
Genetic coding, I could take a look at it.
Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 125, Training New Skills. 125, Training New Skills. There were many things on Kane's mind once he reached his residence, but he was too tired. After bowing to his father's altar, taking a shower, and eating a small meal, he went to bed. Although he could use embryonic breathing to shorten the time, it was good to relax from time to time. A bow's string had to be tense, but if pushed too much, it could break. Only after a good night of sleep did Kane begin to address his affairs. He took out the crystal card with information about the visualization technique, free ego, and embryonic breathing, and went through every point. It took more than 4 hours for Kane to grasp the essence of all the knowledge Zarak left in the crystal card.
Embryonic breathing has different levels. I am currently at the first level where my body recovers much faster, and my mind can find tranquility with little effort. I can also revolve my astral wave much faster, improving my cultivation and energy recovery. As for free ego, it is more than just allowing my ego wave to leave my brain. I can train it to grow stronger and more resilient. With enough training, I can make it invisible and silent to the point that it could enter the body of someone, and that person would not even notice it. Currently, there is not much I can do with my visualization technique. I need to give some time for my alter ego to grow and show its nature and power. After that, I can begin to harness it. Kane took a few deep breaths, and soon he entered embryonic breathing. He could achieve that state without much effort as long there were no threats nearby affecting his concentration. He stood in that state for a few minutes and felt that all the fatigue from reading for several hours had vanished. After that came his free ego training. A red electromagnetic force field emerged from Kane's brain and moved around the room. Everything it touched appeared in his mind clearer than if he was seeing it with his own eyes. It took him around 3 hours for the red colour to fade slowly. Kane had to focus all his mind on that task, and any flaw would make it visible again. Kane practiced his free ego for an hour before allowing his ego wave to return to his brain. It will be long before I can make it invisible without effort, and much longer before it is imperceptible for anyone with a weaker willpower than mine. After practicing the knowledge he gained from the first crystal card, Kane took the second Zarak gave him. The information about the hypnosis master path was very obscure and complex, but its essence was simple. Kane needed to generate a clash of wills with the opponent. The key was not just defeating the opponent, he had to leave it susceptible before uttering a command that would carry an impulse. He would have to ensure that impulse would reach the target's psyche, and force this one to act a certain way. There were even ways to generate powerful illusions or implant specific commands that would activate with a keyword. Becoming a one-star hypnosis master is incredibly challenging in just 2 weeks. Kane understood the task's difficulty, but he trusted Zarak's guidance. If he could not do it, that meant he had no talent in the hypnosis master path and would not waste his time in it. After going through the information in both crystal cards and grasping his new abilities, Kane addressed a different subject.
How many military credits do I have?
One of the reasons he went through the pillars was to test his strength, but also secure as many military credits as he could. Military credits, 194.34. Kane showed a great smile as he saw that massive quantity of credits. The pillars' rewards, Wave Champion Atrox's body, and the ones he gained for battling Wave Beast's hordes added up to a massive number. He almost laughed as he had no idea what to do with so many military credits. Of course, the military's network had things much more expensive than 190 credits, but none of them were useful for a Wave warrior like Kane. It did not take long for Kane to pick up the things he needed. He bought several Wave crystals along with dragon grass. Those would help his cultivation and training in blood refinement art. Even for scions that had the full power of their noble families behind them, Kane's purchase was insane. Of course, using such high-quality resources would translate into a powerful foundation. Once Kane saw the number of credits left after buying a few crystals and grass, he did not know whether to laugh or cry.
Ha, I have less than 20 credits left, and what I bought will not last me more than a couple of months. It is true what they say, there is never such a thing as too much money.
Kane did not spend all his credits on resources, as there was one last thing he needed to buy.
Apex, did you find the object I requested from you? I have found several ways to acquire it. Theia is one that involves certain risks, but with your current strength, there would be no problem. It would actually benefit our purpose to take that path, but it all depends on if you are willing to do what needs to be done.
Kane's eyes narrowed as he heard that. The object he wanted to obtain was instrumental in fulfilling a promise he made to himself.
Please explain. I can get it using several fronts to hide the real buyer, but someone will know that it was sold in the collapsing lightning sector. However, there is a way to obtain it and hide any trace of its sale. A merchant is willing to sell it for a very low price, but they would only do the transaction in person.
Kane understood what a physical transaction of this type meant. After a moment, his eyes grew decisive and cold.
Do it, settle the transaction to happen in 12 days. Done. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 126, Clash of Wills. 126, Clash of Wills. There was a large forest not too far away from a small city. Ordinary people did not visit this place, and even soldiers knew better than to get into it since it was where criminals went to do shady business. You might see something you should not and end up dying, so everybody knew better than to get near it. There was a full moon in the sky, and an old man waited in a desolate part of the forest. He had short gray hair and a thin build, and there was a large scar in his neck. Despite his ferocious appearance, the man looked incredibly peaceful, and his smile seemed capable of putting people at ease. Suddenly, the old man's eyes narrowed as he saw a figure coming out of the forest. Although the person had a robe covering his entire body, it was clear he could not be more than 15 years old. Seeing that the person he was about to meet was so young made a sharp light appear in the eyes of the old man. Still, he immediately hid it, showing nothing but friendship on his face.
Is he alone?
The old man did not utter those words, but sent them through his AI chip.
Yes, young elephant and young monkey surveilled the surroundings, and there was no one else in a radius of 500 meters.
When the old man heard that, his smile grew wider, but still, it showed no evil thoughts. Clearly, he had done this many times and knew how to hide his emotions.
Great Tiger, prepare to act. Like always, I will speak with the buyer for a while and will give you the signal if he is someone that we can get rid of.
No answer came, but the old man knew that the ones hiding in the dock were ready to act the moment he gave the signal.
Hello, my friend. Who would have thought that someone so young would be interested in my services? Allow me to introduce myself. I am Old Fox.
The old man spoke warmly before approaching the young man and stretching his hand. When the young man grabbed Old Fox's hand, a small device was activated and scanned him, sending the information about his cultivation to the old man. Old Fox was surprised to see the information that reached his AI chip. Less than 15 years old and already a level 3 astral wave warrior, a scion of a noble family. Deep inside his gut, Old Fox felt great resentment as he saw such a young genius. He was also a level 3 wave warrior, but his age had already neared 70. Of course, as someone that had lived long in this business, Old Fox knew how to keep a cold head. Some people could disappear with no one bothering to look for them, while the vanishing of others could raise hell on earth. I guess today will be regular business. That thought crossed Old Fox's mind just as he was about to let go of the boy's hand. However, Old Fox's eyes widened when he felt the boy hold his hand in a tight grip, and the next thing he saw were two red eyes looking directly at him. The man who had spoken with Old Fox and watched everything from the shadows could not help but frown as he saw Old Fox staring blankly into the boy's eyes before talking in a low tone. Just as he was about to ask what was happening, Old Fox again communicated with him through the AI chip.
He is a level 3 essence wave warrior, but he is just some bastard with no background. We can act without fear. Tell young elephant and young monkey to cover the escape routes. You will come into the open and display your strength, destroying his fighting spirit and making things easier for us. I have already activated the jamming device, so no communication will go in and out of this place.
Great Tiger was confused by that command. Everything would be easier if he attacked from the shadows and killed the boy before this one even noticed that something was happening. Still, he did not dare to refute Old Fox's words. Just as Old Fox got away from the boy, Great Tiger emerged from the darkness. He was a middle-aged man with a large body covered in green armor, holding a dagger and sword.
What is the meaning of this?
The young man shouted as he saw Old Tiger's figure. Great Tiger found the boy's reaction extremely normal, but something bothered him. His body language is that of a terrified man looking for a way out, but his eyes show no fear. Something is not right. Great Tiger was no newbie, and his instincts were top-notch, but there was not much he could do now other than go ahead with the plan.
This is the price of doing business in the dark. There is nowhere to run for you. The only thing you gain by fighting will be making things harder for you.
Old Fox spoke calmly while moving away from the young man and positioning himself safely behind Great Tiger's body. Great Tiger's instincts kept telling him something was wrong, so he decided to end this as fast as possible. He took a deep breath as his essence wave burst with power, generating powerful gales.
Brat, I'm a level 5 essence wave warrior. The difference between us is like heaven and earth. There is no way you can escape this place alive. If you don't resist, I promise to make it painless.
Great Tiger's dagger and sword began to glow as a sharp wing circulated them. The boy only showed greater fear as he saw the strength of Great Tiger and moved back, ready to run away. Great Tiger only shook his head when he saw that, and he dashed forward at an incredible speed. He was less than 20 meters away from the boy in a second, ready to fire a spell that would kill this one in a swift movement. However, it was at that point that everything went south for Great Tiger. He had just raised his weapons and loaded them with his essence wave when a red force field emerged from the boy's head and clashed against him. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 127, Killing a Level 5 Wave Warrior. 127, Killing a Level 5 Wave Warrior. Great Tiger was surprised and felt a powerful force crashing against him, making its way to his brain. After a second, the force managed to overcome his willpower and put him in a susceptible state of consciousness.
Sleep.
That command reached the deepest part of his mind and instilled in him an intense desire to let go of everything, close his eyes, and fall asleep.
No.
Great Tiger shouted as he fought with everything he had that compulsion. A harsh life had granted Great Tiger a powerful will, so he was able to overcome that drive implanted in his mind. Actually, he could have resisted from the beginning, but he was so sure of his victory against the boy that he lowered his guard. Although Great Tiger regained control of his mind, that did not mean everything was fine. Fighting off that compulsion granted the boy all the time he needed to burst with immense power. Not only was the boy unleashing a wave output equal to a late-level Far-Wave warrior, it wasn't Essence Wave, but Astral Wave. Great Taiga saw how a black armor extended from the boy's back and covered this one's body, just as two fists charged with an immense amount of astral wave and lightning came toward him. Even if the amount of wave that Great Taiga could unleash surpassed the boy's, Essence Wave was unsuitable for physical defense. He directed much of his Essence Wave toward the front of his body while raising his weapons. I will take that blow. It will harm me, but after that, I will be able to put some distance between us before unleashing a barrage of wind blades. Great Taiga was a seasoned fighter, so he devised a plan in a fraction of a second. Unfortunately, he was unable to predict what would happen next. Great Taiga's eyes widened as he felt a sharp pain on his back and saw that Old Fox had just buried a knife in it. The old man had charged almost all his essence wave into the knife, which did a lot of damage.
Damn it!
Great Taiga shouted as he stuck Old Fox with the back of his hand, sending the old man flying away. Great Taiga did not understand what was happening, but did not have time to think as the lightning fist was about to reach him. He could only put his free arm on its path, protecting his chest from the blows that would have undoubtedly shattered his sternum. When those fists landed on him, Great Taiga felt as if a massive truck was about to run him over, but things only worsened. The matrices in the gauntlets glowed, generating an extremely powerful kinetic blast that completely shattered Great Taiga's right arm and sent him flying away while puking blood.
Boom!
Great Taiga felt how every single one of his internal organs trembled and was sure that his right arm would have exploded if not for his armor. Despite the immense pain and damage he endured, the man managed to shout an order in midair.
Young elephant, young monkey, kill him.
By this point, everybody could tell that the young man responsible for all this mayhem was no other than Cain. Cain's arms trembled for a moment as they went over the backlash of triggering a double level 2 kinetic blast. The last time he used it, the bones on his hands almost broke, and it drained most of his astral wave. Although he coped with it much better this time, it still temporarily froze him. Less than a second after Great Taiga's shout, two figures emerged from the darkness. One was a thin woman wielding a metal staff, while the other was a large man wearing brown armor full of spikes. The first was an essence wave cultivator, the second an astral wave cultivator, and both were level Far-Wave warriors. Cain did not even glance at the duo coming at him full of killing intent, but his ego wave dashed toward them, generating a clash of wills. Young Monkey and Young Elephant were shocked by the sudden clash. Although they were on high alert and aware of their danger, none could face off Cain's willpower.
Freeze!
The duo wanted nothing more than to kill Cain, but their bodies froze when they heard that command. What they desired did not matter, since the order Cain implanted in their minds was stronger. Cain's ego wave showed him how the duo froze 30 meters away from him. Once his body recovered from the backlash, he took a deep breath and activated it.
First gear.
Cain softly uttered those words as his flesh turned red.
Thumpy.
Great Taiga was just about to rise from the ground when he heard a powerful heartbeat that echoed through the forest. He saw that sound coming from the boy's chest. Before he could overcome the shock, this one appeared in front of him. What a monstrous speed! That was the last thought that crossed Great Taiga's mind before a fist carrying outrageous strength landed on his chest, overwhelming his armor's defenses and shattering his ribs and sternum.
All right.
Great Taiga screamed in pain as blood carrying pieces of his inner organs came out of his mouth. However, he could not yell for long since a barrage of punches began to land on his head, shattering every bone in it. Cain's entire body rotated after every punch, generating a greater and greater momentum and torque that would enhance the next blow with even more strength. Young Monkey and Young Elephant could do nothing else but see as a young boy punched the head of their leader with so much strength that small blasts echoed every time the fists connected. It was not long before they heard the sound that marked the end of the massacre.
Crack.
Great Taiga's skull finally gave up under that barrage and shattered, marking the end of the man. Cain's eyes showed no mercy at all as he turned toward the duo with bloody hands. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 128, No Mercy. 128, No Mercy. The way young elephant and young monkey reacted to great tiger's skull cracking was very different. Absolute terror invaded the woman's heart while the man's eyes burst with pure rage.
Bastard.
Young elephant roared with rage as his astral wave burst with immense strength, making a golden light cover his entire body. Cain saw how the man managed to overcome the compulsion and dashed toward him with immense strength. He was in no position to counter or dodge that attack, so he could only block it. However, that was not all Cain did. As he raised his guard and focused his astral wave in his arms, he turned toward young monkey.
Stop breathing.
Emotions have an effect on a person's willpower. Anger could drive your focus to the point that you could break a weak compulsion, while fear could make you even more susceptible to it. Young elephant's burning rage allowed his willpower to rise to the point where he could resist Cain's control, but young monkey was so terrified that the moment she heard those words, her lungs stopped working. Young elephant did not notice the plight of his ally. There was nothing more in his eyes than the young man in front of him. He knew deep inside that the only way to come out of this place alive was to kill that person.
Boom.
A blast echoed through the forest as young elephant's fist clashed with Cain's arms, sending this one flying away. Cain's eyes remained calm, but he was inwardly surprised by the strength of that attack. That yellow light seems to improve his body's hardness and increase the weight behind each punch. As he figured out the enemy's skill, Cain rotated his body midair, recovering control before landing on his feet. Young elephant was shocked by Cain's martial skills, but he threw away all those useless thoughts and dashed forward, full of killing intent.
Stop moving.
Cain uttered that command again, but it had no effect other than making young elephant frown.
Your tricks will no longer work on me.
Young elephant shouted, trying to give himself more courage, while the golden light that covered his body grew even stronger. Cain noticed that the enemy's mental fortitude had risen to a level where this one could resist the compulsion of a one-star elementary hypnosis master. Although it would make things harder, he showed no fear toward an enemy like young elephant. His wave burst went down to 1,000%. That diminished his raw power, but allowed him to fight for a longer time. Young elephant's fury grew stronger when he saw Cain's astral wave output diminished. He thought THSD, the young man was looking down on him.
Dies.
Young elephant sent a vicious punch toward the boy's head, showing surprisingly good martial skills. Unfortunately for young elephant, Cain easily dodged the blow, and things did not end there. Cain used young elephant's momentum to counter with his own punch to the head. Young elephant felt his head would fly away from his body, but he clenched his teeth and sent another attack. Sadly, things repeat themselves. Cain counted every attack that young elephant fired. The level 4 astral wave warrior had immense strength and durability, but severely lacked speed. Having lower speed than your opponent did not mean you could not touch them, as you could use superior martial skills, feints, or attack from blind spots. However, the AI chip module generated a small virtual screen in Cain's vision, showing him a prediction of young elephant's following movements. Cain used it for the first time against the Atrox Wave champion, and there was no way he would let such a powerful tool go to waste. He had even given it a name: Virtual Sight. Cain continued countering young elephant's punches, adding the strength of this one to his own attacks. After a few minutes, he saw the man's eyes beginning to lose focus due to all the blows to the head. He dodged another strike, but did not fire a counter this time. Instead, he lowered his body and struck young elephant's knee with his elbow. Young elephant's eyes widened with pain as he felt his right knee almost shattering due to that blow. However, he endured the agony and used that same leg to strike back. That attack surprised Cain as Virtual Sight showed him that young elephant's stance would crumble after that strike. Of course, Cain did not blindly trust what Virtual Sight showed him since he knew the predictions were not 100% certain. He moved back and put his arms in front of his chest just before that kick sent him flying away. Young elephant would have wanted to carry on with his attacks, but the damage he had received was too much, and his right leg no longer worked. He could not rest for even a second before Cain flashed back to the fray and landed a ferocious kick on his jaw. Kane saw young elephant's eyes grow dim after that kick due to the brain trauma and immediately continued with another kick toward the temple. That second kick sent young elephant crashing to the ground before a third kick connected to the back of his head, destroying the cervical vertebrae and cutting the spinal cord. Kane's deactivated his wave burst, lightning armament, and Usura from the moment he killed young elephant. He kept wave cloak activated since it would not be wise to lower his god in a place like this. The battles against Great Taiga and young elephant were shot, but drained almost all of his astral wave and pushed him to his limit. He focused on Old Fox and saw that the man was unconscious before turning toward young monkey. The woman was twitching on the ground while grabbing her neck, desperately attempting to breathe. Even if a level 4 wave warrior could go for several minutes without breathing, it did not mean asphyxiation did not affect them. Kane walked to the woman and saw the terror in her eyes that pleaded for mercy. He put his hand over her chest before whispering 2 words.
Stop working, ye.
Young monkey heard those words before her heart stopped beating, and she perished. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 129, Low Gains. 129, Low Gains. Kane's ego wave vanished as he looked around the battlefield. He saw the Great Taiga, young elephant, and young monkey corpses and showed nothing in his eyes. After experiencing killing millions in his past life memories, murder could no longer affect Kane's mind. Especially if the ones he killed were people that would not have hesitated to end his life so they could take his belongings. Kane's true nature was that of a hero, but his own version of what a hero meant. He would protect the people he cared about, save any innocent he found on his journey, and butcher all evil in his path. Kane went toward Old Fox, and after ensuring that the man was unconscious, he sat by this one's side and rested for a little while. He felt mentally exhausted. Although hypnosis was an extremely powerful technique and seemed very easy TP display, nothing could be farther from the truth. It required immense mental effort to place someone's mind under hypnosis, and just the most basic command required all of Kane's focus. After a few minutes, Kane was able to recover a little and turn toward Old Fox before putting a hand over this one's head.
Wake up.
The target being unconscious did not mean Kane could not put this one under hypnosis, since the brain still worked perfectly fine. In any case, it only made things easier as this one's mental defenses were lower. Old Fox opened his eyes, but they had lost their focus, making it clear to everybody who saw him that his mind was in an altered state.
Who else knows about you coming to this place and doing this transaction?
Old Fox showed no resistance and immediately answered Kane's question.
No one else in the organization knows about it. The only ones privy to this deal were the men I came with.
Kane's eyes narrowed when he heard those words. He did not doubt that Old Fox belonged to some criminal group, but the fact that this one used the word organization disturbed him.
Explain to me what organization you belong to. I am part of the ancient feral organization. We are a criminal group with our headquarters in Jharkhand County. We use animals as our code names, and the prefix determines our status in the organization. Juvenile, young, and great are used for warriors, while those that handle logistic affairs use aged. Those with the old prefix are special, meaning they have a strong background within the organization. A council formed by 9 people lead our organization. Each is called an ancient beast, with my big sister being one of them. I am unaware of the strength of the other 8, but my sister is a level 9 essence wave warrior.
Kane showed an awkward smile as he heard all that information. It seems I have kicked a hornet nest. My luck is truly unbelievable. Well, there is nothing I can do about it now. Although Kane was a little annoyed that the criminals he had just killed had such a complicated background, there was no way to turn back time now. Besides, even if he could, he would not change anything. Before, an organization with level 9 wave warriors and possible wave champions would have been an existential threat to Kane, but now they were just a problem. Usually, in a criminal organization, the higher-ups will always get their cuts from anything the underlings did. I guess Old Fox did not share this endeavor with anyone else because he wanted to secure all the profit. Kane confirmed his guess after asking it directly to Old Fox before asking more questions about the ancient feral organization. He wanted to know everything he could about them in case they came knocking on his door in the future. After roughly 30 minutes, Kane was able to get a comprehensive understanding of the ancient feral organization.
Last question. How many people have you killed with this type of scheme? 48. I see.
Kane said nothing else before slapping Old Fox's head with all his strength, making it explode like a balloon full of blood. There were many ways to handle Old Fox, but Kane chose to use the more definitive. Everybody from the ancient feral organization that came to this forest was dead, and no one could reveal Kane's involvement. During the interrogation, Kane had asked for Apex to hack Old Fox's space ring, and he could now use it. He stored the old man's belongings in it before doing the same with the trio's artifacts and blasting their heads. The blood will attract the wave beast from the surroundings, and they will not leave a single hair of those energy-rich bodies. Kane could have also stored the corpses in his space rings, but he had no idea if there was a way for people to track them somehow, so it was better to be safe than sorry. Once he finished handling the corpses, Kane scanned the surroundings with his Ego Wave and Basic Scan force field, making sure there was no evidence of his presence here before leaving. Kane jumped from one tree to another on his way back, ensuring he left no tracks on the ground. As he left the battlefield, he issued a command to the Absolute Life Form system.
System, how much Destiny Force did I gain from this last encounter?
Immediately, a robotic voice echoed inside Kane's mind. Destiny Force obtained, 2.3 points. Kane's eyes widened as he saw how little he had obtained. He could understand that Old Fox would not grant him much since the old man did not have much time left and was weak, but the other three were relatively young and with high cultivations.
Brat, do not expect much from people like that. For starters, low-level criminals have weak destinies. Most are considered nothing more than disposable pawns in the eyes of the higher-ups. Not to mention that your destiny had risen a lot, so the fact you gained anything from them was already impressive.
Kane showed an awkward smile as he heard that. He had forgotten just how much he had grown over the last few months. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates. Episode number 130 Basic Genetic Enhancement. 130 Basic Genetic Enhancement. Kane knew he could steal the destiny of the people he killed. However, the stronger his destiny, the less destiny force he would gain. That is why he earned almost nothing despite having killed a level 5 and 2 level 4 wave warriors.
How much is my current destiny force?
Destiny force, 1664. Kane was surprised by that large number, but immediately figured out the reason for the sudden rise. The fame and glory he obtained in the cadet ranking helped him improve his destiny. He had not gone to the Pillars de Trial for that, but it happened nonetheless. Figuring out my destiny's growth is too hard. If I try to do it, the only thing I will do is waste my time. The best path is to carry on with what I usually do, always striving to improve.
Well thought, Brat. You are too young and weak to attempt and decipher destiny's mysteries. You are on the right path. Just keep walking forward.
Kane showed a small smile as he heard Apex's encouraging words. As he saw the massive amount of destiny force he had gathered, ideas came to his mind.
System, show me the genetic coder module.
Less than a second after Kane uttered that order, a virtual screen appeared in his sight. Genetic coder module. Basic genetic stimulation. Basic genetic suppression. Basic genetic enhancement. I have no use for basic genetic stimulation since I have already awakened my dormant bloodline. Basic genetic suppression could help me with my bloodline's emotional outbursts, but that is no longer a problem after I reached mind over body. The only one usable right now is basic genetic enhancement. Kane did not look down on the genetic coda module, by no means, as he knew that the only reason he was able to shine in the early months of the military academy was his bloodline that he obtained thanks to basic genetic stimulation. However, 2 of its 3 tools have lost their use. Of course, that would change once Kane evolved the module to the next stage. Although he would have wanted to do it right now, things were not so simple. He had already obtained the 1,000 Destiny Foss points needed to evolve the module, but his soul was not strong enough to endure the pressure of an evolved genetic coda module. That is why Cain focused on basic genetic enhancement. He had always been interested in the tool, but each use cost 100 Destiny Foss, so he was not in a position to use it before. However, things have changed now. Display the possible genetic enhancement I can obtain. The Absolute Life Form system carried on with the command immediately, displaying available genetic enhancements. Due to the genetic coda module's current capabilities, enhancing specific genes would negatively affect others. The projected outcomes are specific to the Lightning Lupus bloodline. Different bloodlines will generate different outcomes as the effect on the genome will vary. Enhanced genetic strength. Enhance genes focused on physical strength. Projected outcome. Increase strength by 9%. Diminish speed by 7%. Enhanced genetic speed. Enhance genes focused on physical speed. Projected outcome. Increase speed by 5%. Diminish strength by 1.2%. Enhanced genetic vitality. Enhance genes focused on vitality. Projected outcome. Increase vitality by 10%. Diminish speed by 3.5%. Diminish strength 3.5%. When Cain saw the available enhancement, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. Increasing his vitality by 10% or strength by 9% would be immensely helpful, but the drawbacks were not worth it. The only one that was cost-effective in Cain's mind was enhanced genetic speed, as a rise of 5% on his already high speed would greatly improve his battle power, and he could endure a 1.2% loss in his physical strength. Nevertheless, paying 100 Destiny Foss for it was not something that Cain was willing to do. Each point was incredibly difficult to obtain, and he never knew when he would need them. I am in no urgent need to improve my speed right now, so I will save the points. I should gain even better outcomes after evolving the genetic coda module, and there may be even better tools at my disposal at that time. Cain made the virtual screen vanish as he continued running, and after another 2 hours, he finally left the forest. He appeared close to his military truck and got up on it before commanding the vehicle to drive back to the Imperial Lightning Fort. Once Cain was safely inside the military truck, he relaxed. The journey had been bloody, but he came out of it immaculate. Time to see the real gains. Cain thought with a smile as he began to analyze all the wealth in his new space ring. The wave artifacts he took from Old Fox, Great Tiger, Young Elephant, and Young Monkey were not that impressive, but they could amount to roughly 15,000 military credits. Just like he did with all the other artifacts, he would leave them to Apex so that this one could exchange them for resources using the Empire's network. Initially, Cain expected to find a significant amount of wealth stored in Old Fox's space ring, but luck did not shine on him. There was a great deal of paper money, fine wine, and delicious food, but had no cultivation resources. I guess it makes sense. Old Fox probably had already given up on his cultivation, so there was no reason for him to have stuck up cultivation resources. There might have been a great deal of Imperial military credits in his account, but I could not access those. Cain would have no problem commanding Old Fox to transfer military credits to his account using hypnosis, but that would have left a log of the transfer. It would have been the same as yelling to the world that he killed the old man and the other 3. There was one thing that Cain found inside the space ring that drew a large smile on his face. He took out a small red piece of metal and put it on top of the artifact covering his spine. The piece fused flawlessly with the inactive nullity armor, and when Cain sent the signal, both activated together. A black armor covered Cain's body, but this time, instead of a black helmet, a red one appeared. Thank you for listening to the Age of Chaos audio story. Storyfy grows with listeners like you. Support the series by sharing it and join our Telegram for the latest updates.